happen so they can cross genre lines and really continue to grow.
Hugely popular with the fans and with just getting phone calls and requests and stuff like that for it.
I love the record. I love it. I still listen to it at least 3-4 times a week. I'm still not tired of it.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think it was an album that took everyone by surprise. I know it did great first week sales, but I think it was a slow boil to the success that they've earned. I mean, it wouldn't have become what it is now without years of touring behind it. And a lot of hard work on the band and their management and the promoters behind them.
The sound of My Chemical Romance has evolved over the years. There are major differences in the recording techniques used between the first two albums.
The shift from one label to another influenced a change in production. It was a little more glossy, I think, and I think at the time that it came out, they were just, the album was great, but it was a time that they really solidified their image more.
They've certainly taken it to another level in terms of the songwriting. I mean, the hooks are just undeniable. They're just like, these are almost anthems, there's a more big sort of arena rock almost kind of feel, it's almost like an arena emo kind of album, which is a real sort of contradictory thing to say because emo should be sort of like this music, this really intimate music that you're singing, you're confiding to someone, and yet they've taken that sort of intimate, confiding sort of aspect of emo and made it into these big anthems.
Definitely, like I said before, when I heard Three Cheers, it didn't grasp me right away. I Brought You My Bullets did. So it was kind of an adjustment period, because it did sound different.
Good bands from album to album aren't going to stick with the same exact CD over and over again, because then it just gets stale and people aren't going to like it. So I think what they did is they, put out the first one, they saw what worked, they saw what didn't work, and they improved upon that, but at the same time they weren't worried to sort of reach out again and try new things and different variations and stuff like that, yeah.
But when I heard the full album, it was much more polished. The vocals were a lot tighter. The songs were somewhat shorter, and just tighter in general. There were songs that were paid more attention to, and you could tell that they worked with a big-time producer like Howard Benson. And like I said, it didn't catch me until I got to that 9th track, Thank You for the Venom. And that was the badass song that My Chem needed on that album to really give it that punch as far as we were concerned here.
With the explosion in popularity for New Jersey bands led by My Chemical Romance, people are comparing the scene to the grunge explosion that happened in Seattle in the early 90s.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people have talked about, and I know the bands are aware of that Jersey is being compared to the Seattle scene back in the grunge days, and some people have said that Eyeball could be the sub pop of this era. But the funniest thing is when you talk to the band, they're sort of very nervous about that comparison and sort of blown away by the idea, that you could even make that comparison.
I don't think, My Chemical Romance or any of the bands that coming after them are anywhere near the level of importance that, Nirvana was or Pearl Jam was. It's not earth-shattering yet. I mean, who knows what we'll see. This year we'll see the next My Chemical Romance album. Maybe that will push it, kind of beyond what it is now. But I don't think it's anywhere near as earth-shattering as, or genre-defining or bending, as Seattle was.
I think as far as comparing New Jersey to the Seattle scene of the early 90s, I think there are certain, comparisons, but I don't think you're going to see as many bands reaching multi-platinum status as you saw in Seattle. I think that's sort of a one-of-a-kind sort of thing. But I think there's a lot of bands that are going to be, definitely noteworthy in the next 10 years or so, coming out of New Jersey.
New Jersey right now is definitely, especially I've noticed more northern New Jersey, like the North Bergen sort of area, that area. That's been sort of this hub for this explosion of emo as a genre. And even just as far as like seeing the kids, because you can easily identify the kids who are into the scene, seeing them and like just in groups and as just individuals, you see this sort of concentration in this area and sort of fans out from there. I think in Seattle with, say, the grunge explosion, you saw the same thing, where you saw this sort of concentration of kids who you could easily identify, who identified with the music and supported it and sort of just kind of got into it and pushed it from there. And that's, again, goes back to, not just strangling something you love, but letting it grow and not being overprotective of it.
Well, the Jersey scene has definitely come into its own. There's 1,000,001 bands coming out of New Jersey, and they're all pretty much the same.